Hi, my name is Damian Sheridan, CEO and co-founder of Scale. Welcome to this session, Pre-Scale UK 2025. Today is a slightly different session. We've got an interview with the CEO of GuestReady and RentalReady, Alex Limpert. Alex, delighted to have you join us.
I'm delighted to be here. Thank you for having me.
Alex, I want to talk about just you a little bit, the history of GuestReady, and then we're going to talk a little bit about RentalReady and software in our industry. If we could start off, a lot of people will know about both GuestReady and RentalReady. Can you tell us a little about where it all started, why it started, and the locations, where you moved from and to, expansion of the team, and then we can talk about the software afterwards.
Yeah, so definitely happy to give some background there. When we started GuestReady, we had pretty big ambitions already from the beginning. And we said that probably we need good technology to scale. We wanted to build a globally leading short-term rental manager. And we didn't say from the beginning that we need to build this technology in-house. But when we started to look at the market and what was available, and then also started to operate the business, not just in one location, but we actually started in multiple locations at the same time and then grew quite quickly. We realized that what was out there in terms of off-the-shelf standard PMSs, it was just not matching our needs. So we started to build on top of the solution that we had chosen back then and added a task management app, added an owner app, added lots of different features. And in the end, we had replaced basically pretty much everything apart from the channel management. And then we decided, why don't we just build that too? So in the end, we had built a full technology suite, which was rental-ready, really allowed us to scale. What we felt back then was that a lot of the technology that was available, and still today it's the same, is more meant to help you market, help you distribute. But what the reality of property management is, it's very operational, it's very complex, lots of processes, lots of logistics that you need to coordinate between on the ground, on the properties, with the service providers, but also with the owners. That is something that most PMSs just can't really handle and just can't really automate enough. And that's something that we've put so much work in at RentalReady to make that very scalable for property managers.
So remind us, at what point did you start to develop this new software? And what era was this? PMSs have changed a lot over the years and have become a lot more robust.
Absolutely. There's definitely been an evolution in technology. We started GuestReady in 2016, and we in fact also started RentalReady in 2016, maybe early 2017, but we laid the foundations very early on. We didn't launch RentalReady to the market for a long time because we always saw it as our secret sauce for GuestReady. We saw it as the system that Uber uses or the system that Deliveroo uses. They don't offer that to other taxi companies or other delivery companies. So although whenever we talked about our technology at industry events with other property managers, everybody got quite excited and asked us, is this available to us too? Sounds really powerful and would allow us to really make our operation smoother. But we then said, no, it's just an internal system, until it really clicked for us that we're talking about hospitality here, and hospitality by default is, especially property management, is such a fragmented market that in the end we said we're mostly competing against ourselves. Actually, as property managers, we're competing against ourselves. Maybe we're competing against individual hosts or against hotels as well, but we're actually not so much competing against other property managers. And therefore we said, why don't we open up the technology and empower other property managers? And that's a step that we made about 6 years ago. And since then, we've done a lot of work to make the system very usable and very user-friendly for property managers in general. And yeah, my goal is now to empower other property managers to scale equally fast and equally well as GuestReady. With GuestReady, we've scaled to 4,000 units. So I want to see other property managers benefit from RentalReady and grow to the same size, and also make their lives easier and automate as much as possible.
It's a great story. I've worked alongside, in my days as being an SEO consultant, I've worked alongside quite a few property managers who developed their own technology as well, their own PMS. I could see the difficulty though. I could see it was a day-to-day struggle and there were things broke at any given moment. I'm sure you had issues in those early days, especially. If you could go back to those early days and perhaps bring one feature from the present rental ready back into those days that could have saved you a lot of heartache, what might that be?
Yeah, you're asking a very interesting question, and you're also making a good point that building software is hard. And I think for most property managers, it's really not worth it. You need to be at thousands of properties that it's really worth the effort to build, also to have the resources to build something really robust and really well functioning. At the early days, I would say what would have been really cool would be what we have now, AI. We have a AI assistant in Rental Ready called Maya, and Maya is now handling up to 82% of guest communications of property managers, including GuestReady. So it's very powerful, but it doesn't just stop there. I think if AI is now only doing guest communication, then basically we're still stuck in 2023. But now AI can do much more. Maya is doing property audits for us, going through all the property audits that can also be shared with owners, is handling all the reviews, is doing upsells, is raising tasks from reviews and making sure that these tasks are being completed by the team and so on. So it's really a whole workflow that is integrated into different parts of the PMS. It's really native, integrated. It's not just a guest communication add-on that we often see. But yeah, that's super powerful, and I wish I had that earlier.
Okay. I'm going to come back to that in a moment. Back in the day, I remember unified inbox was the big thing that everybody was striving to. And not as many PMSs that claimed they had it necessarily had got it. Were there any lessons that you learned early on in that journey, in the first year and a half, that really helped you move forward with Rental Ready and with the overall business still to more property managers?
Talking about lessons we learned, I think one lesson we learned the hard way, which is not related to that inbox and Maya and so on, but it's more related to finance actually. And that's also a very important part of a property manager's life. Often it's something that we don't want to deal with too much. We want to just see the money coming in, but then doing all the calculations, it's something that maybe lots of people don't want to do because they want to focus on doing the best for guests and owners, but it's so important. We realized one day we hadn't done a very good job making sure that we're getting paid for all the reservations that we had, and we had thousands of reservations, and we realized that Airbnb hadn't sent us all the money because it was stuck due to KYC issues, due to whatever other issues. And we had literally hundreds of thousands just not being wired to us, and we never really realized that. So we built a very robust system to automatically treat all the finances. Now the system automatically looks, is the money received? We have a virtual wallet that property managers can set up in the system for each of their owners. And then when the money comes in, the money gets split between the owner and the property manager, depending on the commission, depending on different rules that can be set up. And that's something that is just super powerful. So in the end, as a property manager, you only get the money that is actually yours, and the rest gets submitted automatically to the property owner. And that's been super helpful and would have saved me quite a bit of headache back then when I realized that we were left out of pocket. We recouped the money, but it was painful in that moment.
Wow. Yeah, getting paid is quite important. It's an important lesson to learn quite early. You mentioned about automation. Is there one most overlooked task all property managers should be thinking about in terms of automation? There's many that are mentioned, at events, conferences, online, but is there one overlooked perhaps?
Good question. I think what will be much more automated going forward is anything related to selling as well. Selling also in a way that doesn't feel like selling. So we had Maya, for example, now depending on the guest communication, what the guest says, recommend different things. You mentioned you haven't booked a train ticket yet. Here is a link to book your train ticket from Paris to Lyon, and so on. So I think something like that, like smart upselling and selling in a way that feels helpful and not like selling, I think that's something that can be quite powerful and can improve the guest experience while also increase the bottom line of the property managers.
That's great. Now, AI obviously is the biggest trend that we're seeing at scale at all of our events on our community. Everybody's aware that they need to be at very least looking at this, if not even just having a tool there. Is there something perhaps, now this is with your rental ready hat off and with the guest ready hat on, is there anything that we should possibly not be looking at in terms of AI and be thinking more about our hospitality and the way we relate to guests AI?
Yeah, I think what's truly important is that we always keep that care for the guests in our hearts and instill that also in the team. So what we do at GuestReady is we have a monthly all hands call, and each of these monthly all hands calls we discuss one section called making memories, and that's giving concrete examples how we made truly a huge impact for somebody, for a guest. One story was that an elderly couple came to Paris, for example, and they were sick, and then one of our guest relations team actually took them out for a walk every single day during their stay, and it was wonderful to see the pictures also that they took together in different parts of Paris and see that shared on the making memory section. Things like that. I think what shouldn't be automated is when guests really need us. I think if everything goes well, a lot can be done by AI, and it will be more accepted also in the future by everybody, by guests, that AI can do these things. But truly caring about the guests and being helpful in times of need, that's something that we can never delegate.
That's interesting. Caring, that's a really great point and a core part of hospitality. Would you say that we can realistically care about our guests without ever seeing them throughout their stay? So, including letting somebody in, checking them in, or having any interaction with them, live interaction. Do you think we can build that rapport, build that connection in the exact same way?
I think these are two different parts. Caring about them and building a direct connection and rapport. I can care about somebody and about their stay even though I haven't met them, even though I don't speak with them. But it is hard to build that personal connection, of course. Like, you need to meet somebody in person. I think that's where also individual hosts have a huge advantage, because they can do exactly that. Every individual host meets their guests in person. Maybe they're even staying at their home. And that's what we also see in ratings, that Airbnb hosts that do that, they have incredible ratings, because even if the property is not very clean, you're not going to give Marco that just told you his life story, you're not going to give them a bad rating, are you? But I think we can still care for guests while not doing that. Like, every detail in the property, every detail of that guest journey can have that care. And even if it's all automated, a lot of thought goes into that. I think that's what property managers can do, to just design a journey that is ideal. And I think this is in general about technology. I imagine that people that designed the iPhone, for example, that they care a lot about the user experience. Maybe not exactly the same as hospitality, but this care transpires through the experience that you generate for guests. And I think it can be something that can be done remotely and at scale.
Cool. I love that. So you're very kindly sponsoring our Scale UK show. We're excited to see you and the team in Manchester in November.
Absolutely.
For anyone who doesn't know about it, it's for professional property managers in the short-term rental industry. 2 days dedicated to all that essential learning and networking with the largest short-term rental property managers in the UK. Tell us about what people can expect if they come and have a chat with you guys. What are the innovations? Where's the development headed with Rental Ready? And overall, with the short-term rental industry at the moment, where do you think Rental Ready fits in that, and how is tech changing?
A very broad question, and I think one that I can expand on. I would love to have property managers stopping at our booth that really want to simplify their business, make it more automated, make it more impactful, also scale. I think it's really interesting to hear about challenges of people and be able to also give real world experiences. We're not just a software company that has never managed properties before. Everybody in the RentalReady team actually has property management experience. And I think that's what makes the software, but also speaking to the team, really interesting, because you're not just speaking to somebody that is sitting in a dark room coding a software, but never actually welcomed the guest or cleaned the property or so on. In the beginning, I cleaned all the properties myself. And the same for our CTO, moved linen and so on. I think we have a different perspective on what property management is. And I think that's also what makes RentalReady different. It's a software that truly understands property managers and understands the operational complexities. And we're doing a lot of work on making this much simpler. AI is one topic that we'd love to talk about. Also keeping in mind that we don't want to automate that care away, but that we want to make it much easier. Another topic could be regulation and what are the impacts of that and how can your business evolve with regulation. We're seeing a lot of property managers thinking about midterm rentals, about multi-unit, so managing hotel property, hotel licensed properties that again need different software capability to manage them. So these are some topics that are definitely very interested, and just hearing about the challenges, and I think we will be able to give really good real world input on that.
Super. You mentioned about regulation. That's obviously something that's at our door the whole time and could be seen as a big threat, but you clearly don't see that. You see this as still being a very exciting industry to be involved in for the future.
I think it's an exciting industry. I think the lines of different parts of hospitality are blurring. Short-term rentals are coming together with service departments, boutique hotels. It's all becoming a bigger playing field where we see different players playing actually in different segments. Regulation differs from one city to another, from one location to another. So also what works in one location might not work in another. But it remains exciting. Of course, there are threats and we need to be vigilant and stay ahead of the curve and looking how this industry could look like or how regulation could look like a couple of years ahead. We want to future-proof our businesses. And with RentalReady, we want to make sure that we have the capabilities to allow property managers to do that. For example, on midterm rentals, we've done a lot of work on automating the contract management, which is something that you don't need to do to have a contract if somebody stays 2 days. But if somebody of months probably want a rental contract, and then you want down payments, you're not going to take payment for 6 months up front. You're going to do different types of pricing for your portfolio and so on and so forth. And for multi-unit too, it really becomes like hotel pricing where you have different room types, where you can move the reservations, optimize your calendar, and so on. And all of this is very interesting and needs to be a technology enabled.
Yeah, interesting. Alex, thanks so much. Really appreciate your time. We look forward to seeing you and the team together in Manchester in November. And yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you, Damian. And I'm looking forward to the show, and I'm looking forward to speaking a lot of property managers and exchange learnings.
Lovely. Thanks very much.